They want you to look at the ticker and panic because the price of silver dropped to $61.84 on Friday. They want you to believe that the rally is over, that the squeeze has failed, and that the banks have won yet another round of their paper game. But this is a lie of omission so massive it borders on criminal negligence. While you were staring at the red candles in the chart, the laws of physics were quietly rewriting the future of the global economy in a laboratory in Suwon, South Korea. And in this video, we are going to expose the technical reality that makes the paper price irrelevant. The divergence between two realities. You have to understand that we are witnessing a divergence between two realities, the financial reality of Wall Street and the physical reality of the energy transition. On Friday, the algorithms that run the commodity futures markets saw a CPI print they did not like and dumped paper contracts, smashing the spot price. It was a knee-jerk reaction, a digital hallucination. But simultaneously, Samsung SDI, the battery giant that powers the EVs for BMW, Stellantis, and Rivian, confirmed the final specifications for their S-line mass production. The media is calling it a battery breakthrough, highlighting the 9-minute charging time and the 900-mile range. But they are missing the single most important detail, the one that makes a 1.1 billion ounce deficit look like a rounding error. Samsung's secret ingredient is revealed. The secret ingredient in Samsung's new solid-state battery is not lithium, and it is not nickel. It is silver. And not just a trace amount used for conductivity. We are talking about a fundamental shift in battery chemistry that moves silver from a precious metal to a strategic energy metal. To understand why this is an extinction-level event for supply, you have to look at the dendrite problem. For 30 years, lithium-ion batteries have been limited by the formation of needle-like crystals called dendrites that grow during fast charging, piercing the separator and causing fires. Samsung's engineers solved this by using a silver-carbon AGC nano-composite layer. Because silver is lithophilic, meaning it chemically loves lithium, it dissolves the lithium ions instantly as they arrive at the anode, spreading them out evenly like butter on toast. This prevents the dendrites, stops the fires, and enables the super-fast charging the world is demanding. But here's the catch that the bankers missed. To make this physics work, you cannot thrift the silver out. You need bulk mass. You need grams, not micrograms. Here are the numbers that Wall Street is terrified to publish. The specific mathematics of extinction that turns a simple supply deficit into a market vacuum. Right now, if you strip down a standard electric vehicle, a Tesla Model 3 or a Chevy Bolt, you will find about 30 to 50 grams of silver. It is used in the membrane switches, the battery management systems, and the solar glass on the roof. That usage alone has already pushed the market into a structural deficit. But the Samsung solid-state battery changes the equation from arithmetic to exponential calculus. We aren't talking about silver as a trace element for conductivity anymore. We are talking about it as a structural component of the anode itself. Technical analysis of the AGC nano-composite layer suggests a silver loading of approximately 5 grams per battery cell. A standard 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack, the kind needed to achieve that 900-mile range, contains roughly 200 of these cells. Do a simple multiplication. 5 grams times 200 cells equals 1,000 grams. That is 1 kilogram of silver. In the language of investing in precious metals, that is 32.15 troy ounces sitting in the chassis of a single luxury sedan. To put that in perspective, that is a full tube of Silver Eagles plus another half tube melted down and sealed into every single car that rolls off the assembly line. Now apply that to the global fleet. There are roughly 80 million cars produced on this planet every year. Let's be extremely conservative and assume that by 2028 only 20% of new vehicles utilize this top-tier solid-state technology. That is 16 million cars. If you multiply 16 million cars by 1 kilogram of silver each, you get 16,000 metric tons of new annual demand. The entire global mine supply is only about 26,000 tons. This one specific use case, this single silver investment strategy by the auto giants, threatens to consume over 60% of all the silver mined on Earth. This leaves zero silver for the solar panel industry, which already eats 15% of supply. It leaves zero silver for the electronics in your iPhone. It leaves zero silver for medical devices, water purification, or jewelry. And crucially, it leaves zero silver for you. We are looking at a scenario where the industrial demand alone exceeds the total annual mine supply, creating a mathematical impossibility that the current $61.84 price cannot resolve. The only variable that can change is the price, and it has to change violently to ration that small amount of metal that is left. Now, the skeptics will tell you that the market will fix itself. They will quote the old adage that the cure for high prices is high prices. They will argue that if silver hits $100 an ounce, the miners will simply dig faster, flood the market with new metal, and push the price back down. This is the geological wall, and it is where the paper market theory collides head-on with physical reality. You cannot print a silver mine. You cannot quantitative ease a vein of ore into existence. In the digital world of Wall Street, liquidity is instant. In the physical world of mining, time is the enemy. It takes on average 10 to 15 years to take a new silver deposit from discovery to first pour. If a geologist found the mother lode in Nevada this morning, that silver would not reach the battery factories until 2040. But Samsung needs the metal now. The S-line is ramping up today. The demand is immediate, but the supply response is frozen in a decade-long regulatory deep freeze. And it gets worse. We aren't just facing a time lag. We are facing the exhaustion of the Earth's crust. In 2005, a high-grade primary silver mine would yield about 15 ounces of silver for every 1 ton of rock crushed. Today, that number has collapsed to just 4 ounces per ton. We are literally running out of the easy metal. To get the same amount of silver, we now have to dig up 4 times as much rock, burn 4 times as much diesel, and use 4 times as much water. There's also the geopolitical vice grip. Mexico produces nearly 25% of the world's silver, but the government there has effectively ceased issuing new open-pit mining permits. The second largest producer, Peru, is paralyzed by constant labor strikes and community blockades. Russia, a major source, is under sanctions. We are witnessing a historic decoupling between the paper price in the West and the physical price in the East. If you look at the COMEX ticker in New York, the algo-driven price is sitting at that deceptive $61.84 figure. But if you look across the Pacific to the Shanghai Gold Exchange, SGE, the physical heartbeat of the Asian market, you see a completely different reality. In Shanghai, silver is changing hands at a premium, equivalent to $67 or $68 per ounce. That is a massive, persistent arbitrage gap of over $5. In a functioning, efficient market, a gap of 10 cents is considered huge. A gap of $5 is a broken market. It screams that the metal is in the wrong place. The bankers in New York are trading paper contracts based on inflation data and Fed whispers, but the traders in Shanghai are standing at the gates of the Samsung and CATL factories. They see the procurement officers panic buying. They see the 1,000-gram loading requirements and the purchase orders. New York is still pricing in a recession, while they are pricing in the silver carbon revolution. This creates a mechanical inevitability known as arbitrage. Smart money, the global macro funds, and the industrial trading houses see this disparity. They realize they can buy cheap silver contracts in New York for $61.84, take physical delivery, ship it to Shanghai, and sell it instantly for $67. This is a risk-free profit trade. But here's the consequence. To capture that profit, they have to drain the physical metal out of the COMEX vaults. They are stripping the West of its strategic inventory to feed the battery furnaces of the East. However, if you are rushing to your brokerage account to blindly buy any stock with the word silver in its name, stop immediately. You are walking into a trap that has destroyed more wealth in this sector than any price crash. In the coming mania, not all boats will rise. Here is the nightmare scenario. You correctly predict that Samsung just broke the silver market thesis. You watch silver spot prices climb from $62 to $100. You hold shares in a mining conglomerate expecting them to skyrocket. But they do not move. Why? Because 3 years ago, when silver was languishing at $22, the company's management team got scared. They signed a forward sales contract, locking in the sale price of their future production at $28 an ounce for the next 5 years. Now, silver is at $100, but that company is contractually obligated to sell its metal to a bullion bank for $28. The bank takes the physical silver, sells it at the market price of $100, and pockets the $72 difference. The bank gets rich on your thesis. The mining company just breaks even. You must treat these hedged companies like radioactive waste. They have kept their upside while keeping all the operational risk of mining. You must be hunting for the unhedged pure plays. These are the companies that have refused to sell their future away. Technocrats and environmentalists love to talk about the circular economy. They will look you in the eye and tell you that this shortage is a myth because we can simply recycle our way out of it. But this is the recycling myth, and it is dangerous because it gives politicians a false sense of security while the physical inventory drains to zero. Here is the dirty secret of the periodic table. Silver is the vampire dust of industry. Unlike gold, which is used in concentrated amounts and hoarded in vaults, silver is sprinkled in microscopic quantities across billions of disposable devices. There is maybe 0.3 grams of silver in your phone. There is a thin film in a solar panel. There is a nano coating in a missile guidance chip. The physics of recovery are brutal. To get that silver back, you have to collect the device, ship it to a smelter, shred it, and burn massive amounts of energy to separate the atoms. In most cases, the cost of the diesel and electricity required to recover the silver is higher than the value of the silver itself. This is why gold has a recycling rate of nearly 90%, while silver's recycling rate from electronics languishes below 20%. And the Samsung solid-state battery makes this problem infinitely worse through a process called sequestration. When Samsung buys 1,000 grams of silver for a car battery in 2026, that silver does not come back to the market next year. That car will be on the road for 15 to 20 years. The silver is locked away, sequestered in a chemical prison until 2045, removed from the liquid supply pool for a generation. This leads us to the most terrifying phase of the shortage, the sovereign squeeze. This is the moment when the mask of the free market slips and the iron hand of the state comes down to secure the supply chain. You have to understand that the transition to electric vehicles is not just a consumer trend. It is a government mandate. The European Union, the United States, and China have all passed laws effectively banning the internal combustion engine by the mid-2030s. So ask yourself a simple game theory question. What happens when Ford and Jane call the White House and say, "Mr. President, we are not building the cars you legally mandated because there is no silver left"? Does the government say, "Oh, well, I guess we will just cancel the Green New Deal"? Absolutely not. They will do what governments have always done throughout history when faced with a resource crisis. They will seize it. We have seen this movie before. In 1933, FDR signed Executive Order 6102, criminalizing the possession of gold because the government needed it to recapitalize the banking system. In 2026 or 2030, they will not come door to door for your coins. Instead, they will use the Defense Production Act. They will declare silver a critical strategic material essential for national security. They will tell the refineries and the mints that 100% of their silver output is allocated to the strategic stockpile for the defense and energy sectors. Overnight, the U.S. Mint will stop producing silver eagles. The private refiners will stop selling 100-ounce bars to APMEX and JM Bullion. You will not be competing with other investors to buy physical gold or silver. You will be competing with the United States military and the South Korean government. However, if you think this scenario of industrial panic is just fear-mongering, you need to study history. We have a perfect blueprint for exactly this kind of event. The metal was palladium, and its story is the ghost of Christmas future for every silver bear on Wall Street. In the late 1990s, palladium was a boring, ignored industrial metal trading around $150 an ounce, but then a structural shift occurred similar to the Samsung breakthrough. Automakers, under pressure to meet new emissions standards, realized they could use palladium instead of platinum in catalytic converters. Demand suddenly became inelastic. General Motors and Ford did not buy palladium because they liked it. They bought it because without it they could not legally sell a car. The market reaction was violent. As Russian supply hiccuped, the price did not just double, it went vertical. It ripped from $150 to over $1,000 an ounce in a breathtaking squeeze. But the most important part of this history lesson is not the chart. It is the behavior of the boardrooms. Ford Motor Company became so terrified of running out of metal and halting their assembly lines that they completely bypassed the futures market. They bought massive stockpiles of physical palladium at the absolute peak of the market. They did not care about the price. They cared about survival. Ford eventually wrote off $1 billion in losses on that hoard when prices normalized. But that is the point. To an industrial giant, losing $1 billion on a bad hedge is painful, but having your entire global production line shut down for 6 months is fatal. Samsung, Toyota, and Volkswagen are looking at that same calculus right now. Only this time, the scale is different. The palladium market is small, the silver market is massive, and it is interwoven into every aspect of modern electronics. Right now, as you watch this, the markets are closed, but hours away from opening. It is the quiet before the artillery barrage. The price on your screen is frozen at that deceptive $61.84 figure, a ghost of the trading week that just ended. But in a few hours, when the clock strikes 6 p.m. in New York, the Globex electronic markets will shudder back to life, and we are going to see the market vote on the Samsung revelation. I am predicting we will see a gap up, a violent jump in price where the market skips over the decimals entirely, opening significantly higher than it closed. This is not just speculation, it is the mechanical result of the Shanghai arbitrage we discussed. The Asian trading desks, fueled by the panic orders from battery manufacturers, have spent the weekend calculating the spread. They know that every contract they buy at $62 is an instant $5 profit if they stand for delivery and ship it to the SGE. But here is the warning you need to burn into your mind. Next week is going to be psychological warfare. The entities that are short billions of ounces of paper silver, the bullion banks, know they are trapped. They know the news that Samsung just broke the silver market narrative is leaking out. They cannot stop the chemistry, so they will try to break your psychology. Their only remaining weapon is volatility. You will see days where the price rips $3 higher, followed by a sudden, inexplicable $2 crash in the middle of the night. They want you to stare at the chart until you are dizzy. Do not fall for it. This volatility is not a sign of a crashing market. It is the death throes of a manipulated one. If you see the spot price drop, but the out-of-stock banners on the dealer website stay up, the price drop is a lie. It is a glitch in the matrix designed to shake you out of your position before the real repricing begins. We have arrived at the final decision point. The data is laid bare. The silver-carbon anode chemistry is confirmed. The geological supply is terminally broken. And the arbitrage gap between Shanghai and New York is screaming that the dam is about to burst. The Samsung announcement was not just a press release. It was the starting gun for the greatest wealth transfer in the history of resources. Your physical strategy must shift from collection to accumulation. Forget the numismatics, forget the graded slabs, and forget the aesthetics. In a shortage defined by industrial panic, the only metric that matters is weight. Samsung does not care about the date stamped on your coin. They care about the atoms inside it. This leaves you with one question. When the history books are written about the great silver squeeze of 2025 and 2026, they will record two groups of people, those who held the paper receipts of a bankrupt system and those who held the physical keys to the energy future. The banks are playing a paper game. Samsung is playing a physics game.